Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Fantasy Pros Football Podcast. I'm Ryan Wormeli, joined as I am every Thursday morning by Pat Fitmaurice and by Jake Ciely from The Athletic. Guys, it's our starts and sits show. We're also talking some waiver ads in terms of are we starting or sitting those waiver ads from this week. We'll also do our touchdown calls contest at the end. It's my turn to miss on the tight end. We have not gotten one right yet, so I will take my second swing at it of the season. I was gracious enough to be the first person to try get tight end right in week one, which means it's already time for me to try again. And we are 0 for 3 so far. So we'll see how that goes. Quick reminder for everybody that all of our weekly consensus rankings and tiers can be found at fantasypros.com/rankings. Guys, let's start off right with the starting and sitting popular waiver ads. And we normally don't include players who are playing on Thursday Night Football because of the nature of when the show gets released. It just doesn't make sense to have those guys, mixed into the debates and the conversation. But by far, the clear number one waiver ad this week, if he was available, he was not available everywhere, but if he was available, the obvious number one choice was Trey Benson. So I felt like we at least had to hit on him. Fitz, there's this real opportunity here. It's a player that I liked coming out of the draft a year ago that I kind of thought by the second half of last year might have had the opportunity to take over that backfield. It didn't happen because James Conner was good and also Trey Benson wasn't good. But now he looks a little bit better, and more importantly, he has this real runway with Conner now out for this season. So for week 4, I know it's Thursday night, but are you starting Trey Benson?
First of all, we're going to get yelled at for including Trey Benson as a pickup because, if he was available in your league, you're playing with a bunch of fish and everything, because all fantasy leagues are completely homogenous and totally identical, and Trey Benson was not available anyway. But anyway, we're starting him. Like the thing is, I don't know if we have an idea yet of whether or not Trey Benson is actually good. Like, I've had mixed feelings watching him play. Like, on some runs, he looks really impressive. On others, not so much. He's only had 84 career carries. But we are about to find out whether he's good. Like, Trey Benson stakeholders just fell into a feature back. And it's possible he is a workhorse role. I'm not sure how much of a role Amari DiMercato is going to play behind Benson. So, tough matchup, though, against a really good Seattle defense. I don't know if he smashes in this matchup, but yeah, you're most likely playing Benson for the workload.
Do you agree, Fitz? And then I'll toss it to Jake that he looks better this year than he did last year. I do feel like not that it's night and day, but I do think he looks a little bit better than he did last year.
Yeah, I mean, he's had like a 52-yard run, but take that away, and I think he's averaging under 4 per carry. Like, he has looked fine so far with what I've seen so far, but I'm still not ready to quite anoint him as good yet.
By the way, to your point about, is he eligible for this category or whatever, I go based on the, waiver wire rankings that are the consensus rankings on Fantasy Pros that are listed in the article that you, Debro, and Ellis put together, every single week. It's one of the best waiver wire articles, I think, out there. And he was listed on there. So that's where I'm like, who are the biggest priorities, the ones most popular? He's on that list. He counts. So he was eligible for this purpose. Jake, Trey Benson, both rest of season and for week 4, I'm curious what your expectations are.
Yeah, well, there's 3 different things here. I included them as well in mine because I go by Yahoo under 60%. So it was a reference point that I also wanted to make because it was in conversation with people behind him too that might be 40% but are still pretty big names. And it was basically that Benson is over all of them so far that if your worst running back, which is possible, if your worst running back is Isiah Pacheco, I'm dropping him for Trey Benson. Like, that's where we are. And that's what my point wanted to be, is that, I want to also give you context of some of the other names out there. And I'm glad you bring up week 4 versus the entire season, because at the time that somebody might be watching this, he might have been stuffed by Seattle's defense. Seattle gets into the backfield both against the quarterback and the running back. And if he comes out and it's 17 for 54, I would actually see it as a buy low opportunity. And if you have Benson, not to sell him, don't panic. This might be similar to Jaxson Dart going against the Chargers. It's a really bad it's his first start. Jaxson Dart completely first start in the NFL. But it's his first game going up as the lead running back. And if it's a struggle, watch out. I would say that's more of a window for you to buy, because I do think that Benson is in the top 15 conversation. I had Field Yates on my podcast yesterday, and that's not I feel Yates. No, but I'm bringing up, he tripped me up with a question I didn't expect to see coming. He threw it back at me, and he said, if you had Genty and I offered you Benson, would you take it? and it made me pause because of how bad things have been for the Raiders offensive line. I still would shoot for the upside of Genty, to be clear, but the pause kind of tells us what we need to know about Benson. I agree with Fitz. We've seen DeMercado. DeMercado's not going to come in and get 45% like Benson was getting.
Fitz, when you look at Benson, like on the game log, the matchups that the Cardinals have had so far, it's color coded on Fantasy Pros, the game log. So the first three are green, as in they were good matchups so far this season for, Benson and this running game in general. The next, several are, kind of normal. There's not a whole lot of green the rest of the season. Do you feel like whatever, it's not like he's been lighting the world on fire so far. He hasn't quite had the opportunity, but for whatever the running game has looked good so far this season, do you think any of that is just matchup based, or do you expect the running game, in general, led by Benson now, to be somewhat successful going forward?
I don't know about success and what his success rate, yards per carry, everything is going to be, but as far as just the decision to whether to start Trey Benson most weeks, if he is getting the workload, I'm not going to sweat the matchups too much. When I do rankings, it's always volume is more of a concern to me than matchups, always. And that's from over the years, observing some of the smartest rankers in our business, people, like Mr. Ciely here and Sean Corner and John Paulson and Justin Boone, they follow the volume, and, matchups weigh into it for sure, but volume is more important.
Jake, let's go to the next name. Somebody that we included last week, but is still, much more available than a guy like Trey Benson, and caught a touchdown for the second straight week. He's a rookie receiver, which tends to, typically these guys get better throughout the season. Elic Ayomanor is still on this list. He was the consensus number 2 pickup for this week. Again, second straight week with a touchdown. He had just 38 receiving yards, but again, that touchdown work looking good. So with Ayomanor, is he somebody, if you didn't pick him up last week, but you were, okay, there's another touchdown, I'm going to pick him up this week, are you willing to start him in week 4?
I'd be hesitant because of the matchup. This is the Texans defense, which has been still pretty good for Texans defense. It's their offense that's killing them. So I think he comes into a wide receiver 4, which is, I think that's what we were hoping. And that's what we're getting from Ayomanor, is the fact that wide receiver 4s mean that we talked about it last week. Wide receiver 4s mean you're going to get good weeks. You're going to get top 20 scores, but you're going to get weeks with 4 points. You're going to get weeks where maybe even a goose egg. It just happens for wide receiver. That's why they're wide receiver 4s. And the biggest thing that it's not that I want to be like, oh, Ayomanor is a 4. You're stupid to think otherwise. I just want people to understand wide receiver 4s as a whole, and the fact that you pretty much just roll them out there every single week. Now, maybe if you have they're facing the worst possible, they're facing the Broncos and somebody else is facing the Cardinals defense, they have nobody left that's healthy, that you would say, okay, the tie break goes to who they're facing. But most weeks you want to just start your wide receiver 4s because you're more likely to keep guessing wrong and then miss the good games and try to chase the good ones and then get the bad ones, all that being said. So, but Ayomanor, yes, you're starting him, but he's still a wide receiver 4. I would actually think this is also a chance to potentially buy low on Calvin Ridley. It's not the best matchup, but he's still leading all the metrics of the team over Ayomanor. The only thing where he's not is the catchable percentage and actually the reception percentage, which is 38%. He is not connecting with Cam Ward, but Ayomanor is. And we're about, I don't know about you, Fitz, but maybe 2 weeks away from saying, if this continues, that Ayomanor's the 1 and Ridley's the 2. That's possible. It's possibly coming.
Yeah, Fitz, I'm curious what you think about that. Not just Ayomanor for this matchup, which is a tough one, but how it pertains to Ridley.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in lockstep with everything Jake is saying here. I do have Ayomanor smack in the middle of wide receiver 4 range. I've got him wide receiver 43. And so in a week with no buys, maybe he's less likely to start than he would be next week when the buys hit and we're going to have some people missing wide receivers. So, Ayomanor, is he already the Titans' number 1 receiver? We thought it was going to be Ridley, and Ridley does have 3 more targets than Ayomanor so far, but Ridley, he has had a lot of drops already, a problematic amount of drops, a what's wrong with Calvin Ridley amount of drops. And Ayomanor is good. And oddly enough, that was maybe the one blemish on Ayomanor's prospect profile, is that he occasionally had drops at Stanford. So Cam Ward only has 2 touchdown passes in 3 games. They both went to Ayomanor. And the only issue here is that Cam Ward is averaging 168.7 passing yards per game. Like the Titans passing game, there's just not a lot of meat on that chicken wing right now. So that's really the main concern and why I've got Ayomanor outside the top 40.
One more receiver here to talk about, Luther Burden, who his wide receiver finish in half-point PPR scoring. In week 1, he was wide receiver 118. In week 2, he was wide receiver 114. And in week 3, he was wide receiver 6. So obviously, a breakout game of sorts. Clearly, driven by the big play. He only had 3 targets, 3 catches, and 1 rush. But 101 receiving yards, 7 rushing yards, and a touchdown. Jake, I'll start with you on this one. What are your expectations for Burden for this week and beyond?
It was because I held up the poop emoji for people that weren't watching the video. Look, I know a lot of times when people pick people off waivers and immediately try to trade them, people are like, well, it's so obvious. This is one of the ones I would do it by any stretch of the imagination possible, because I even wrote this up in the waivers, and I'm going to look at it because some of these numbers I'm obviously not going to remember off the top of my head. But the best case scenario we have of a wide receiver 3 since 2008 is Tyler Boyd when in Jamar Chase's rookie season, when he was actually out there more than T. Higgins, and he finished as wide receiver 38 for the year in points per game. Previous to that, you go back to 2008. What was that team? Larry Fitzgerald, Anquan Bolden, Steve Breston, oh, by the way, with Kurt Warner throwing the football. Unless Caleb Williams is going to throw for 4,500 yards and 35 touchdowns, which, cool, sign me up because I would love that in a lot of my leagues, you just don't get 3 wide receivers who all have production, who all catch over 1,000 yards. Somebody takes the back seat. And somebody counterpointed and said, well, look at the Chargers. Well, yeah, but Ladd McConkey's the one taking the back seat right now. Ladd McConkey's wide receiver 48. He's the one that's not involved. Now, that's going to hopefully change. But my point in this entire thing is that it's really, really, really hard. Oh, and by the way, to go back before that, you have to go all the way back to the 1990s and the Houston Oilers to tell you how far back you have to go to get 3 wide receivers with just over 900 yards. It's really hard to have a 3rd wide receiver, and a lot of the other cases have involved tight ends. So I love Luther Burden's talent. Love Luther Burden's talent. He was a top 5 wide receiver in this draft class, if not top 3 for me. It's just a landing spot. We just did this with the Dunze last year. We did it with JSN the year before. He's behind 2 wide receivers. If DJ Moore gets hurt, or they finally say, we're done with DJ Moore and kick him to the bench, cool. It's just unlikely to happen as much as you want it to happen. You still have Colston Loveland. You still have the backfield. It's just too much going on, again, unless Caleb Williams is going to start passing for 350 yards a game.
Fitz, what do you make of Burden coming off of his wide receiver 6 finish last week?
Yeah, you just can't start him yet because he's played fewer than 20 offensive snaps in every game so far and has had snap shares of under 30%. So, his time is coming. He's really talented, but it's not here yet. I would rather have Luther Burden on my roster than Trey Tucker, who is complete fool's gold for anyone who was chasing that on waivers this week. Sorry, but good luck starting Trey Tucker the rest of the way. He's out there on the field a lot. I think he was 4th or 5th in number of routes run last year in 2024. And what good was that for fantasy? So Burden at least has a chance to be a player you want to start every week down the backstretch of the fantasy season. Trey Tucker has no chance to be that.
I actually just traded for Burden in a dynasty league before this week. So I'm feeling a little bit better. I traded away David Montgomery, but that team, Montgomery was a distant RB5 on that team. I'm just really strong at running back. So I was like, this guy needs help. I need a good, young, talented receiver up and coming.
Anytime you can get rid of a running back after 28 years old in Dynasty.
Exactly.
Positive on top of that to boot. But yeah, I definitely agree with Fitz, and I'm glad he brought up the Trey Tucker thing because, I don't know, maybe, you know what it is? He's new Sammy Watkins just in week 3. His name is Trey. He did it last year in week 3. He did it this year in week 3. Just always start Trey Tucker in week 3. There you go.
Yes. And by the way, Jake has really annoyed me by bringing up that Houston Oilers thing because now I'm racking my brain to figure out who the 3 receivers were. Ernest Givens, Haywood Jeffries, and I cannot think of who was number 3 for the life of me.
You want to? I'm going to test. Here's a giant hit. I'm going to test your R&B knowledge. How about never make a promise, Fitz?
No, I'm not. I'm not the good '90s R&B guy, Jake.
How about you spell his first name DRU instead of DREW?
Is it
Drew Hill?
Drew Hill. Oh, Drew Hill. Okay, I should have known that.
This is very much. I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
The crazy thing was, as you got the other names, they did it in back-to-back years. By the way.
Wow.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
All right, let's plant our flag on some players. Fitz, we'll start with you. Who are you planting your flag on for week 4?
Cam Skattebo. I was not sure if his game would translate to the NFL. I have seen enough. It is going to translate. I am all in. This dude is so much fun to watch. The power is obviously his calling card. That and, the utter disregard for his body and other people's bodies. But watch Cam Skattebo with the ball. It's not just Cam running people over on every carry. This guy processes angles in a way that's just so impressive. He had 10 carries for 60 yards and a touchdown last week against a Chiefs run defense that's always been lights out under Steve Spagnuolo. And the usage in the passing game was really exciting. 6 catches, 61 yards on 8 targets. You better believe the Giants are going to lean heavily on Skattebo this week with rookie QB Jaxson Dart making his first NFL start against a really good Chargers defense. Tyrone Tracy is hurt. We might get 20, 25 Cam Skattebo touches this week, and boy, would that be fun to see.
Jake, I know Fitz has already made it clear that he's following the volume, not the matchup, but are you worried at all about Skattebo just facing this really good Chargers defense?
To a degree, but I think that, so I did the Discord for the Athletic this morning, and somebody's like, who's this year's Chase Brown or Bucky Irving? I was like, it's Cam Skattebo. Because it's really the fact that I already thought he was coming for Tyrone Tracy's job when they drafted him, and then he missed the entire preseason with the injury, and that, of course, put him behind the 8 ball because he's a rookie coming in on top of things. And yeah, last week I know people will point to the fact that Tracy was getting a lot of the early touches, but Skattebo was still sprinkled in. But the opportunities were coming, and now it's clearly his, as Fitz said, that, what we're going to turn to Devin Singletary. I will say this, for a team that just went to Jaxson Dart, if you are trying to get fired, you don't turn to Jaxson Dart for one. But 2 is if you are trying to get fired, you give Devin Singletary 10 touches this week. Just get them the hell out of there. Pink slip on your door as you walk out.
Yeah.
Because this should be, as you said, possibly 20 touches for Skattebo. The only concern I have is not even the matchups, because he's so good. It's not just what Fitz brought up. You saw it, he bounces off contact. It's just, he's so tough to really get off balance, which is really great to see. But it's the problem of my fear is that he's freaking Ralph Wiggum from The Simpsons. He's diving headfirst through windows. He's going to get hurt at some point if he doesn't stop. And that's my only concern.
I have never seen The Simpsons, but I do understand that reference. I've seen the
Really?
the meme. Yeah.
Have you at least seen him when he dives into the living room head first?
Yeah, I've seen
down?
that,
Okay.
meme of it. I watched one episode ever. An old roommate of mine found out that I had never seen The Simpsons. It forced me to watch one episode, and that is it's the episode where Homer goes to hell or whatever and is eating a bunch of donuts. I think that's what happens. I don't really remember, but that's the only episode I've ever seen. So,
dude, what the heck? Warren?
It's a big blind spot for me. Mayor brings it up all the time.
I'm wondering what's next, because we have the no Taco Bell. What's possibly what was the other thing? There's something else on this list already where it's every time we talk about it, you somehow trump the thing that you've never done before that.
Taco Bell and The Simpsons might be 1A and 1B in terms of the most popular things I have. I can't remember what the third one that I'm sure whatever it was
TVs
true,
or movies or something
came up. Yeah. I'm sorry to disappoint you, Fitz and Jake. All right, Jake, who's your plant your flag player?
I'm staying at running back. I'm going to go to J.K. Dobbins in this potential situation with the Broncos being in a game where they can run it out more so. And I know everybody's pointing to, hey, it's a good time to buy low on R.J. Harvey, which I agree with. But at the same time, because Tyler Batty was finally kind of a non-factor, I looked at R.J. Harvey and I'm like, why can't this continue? We all went into the season saying that J.K. Dobbins could be the lead for the entire year. And it wouldn't shock us. We would hope that R.J. Harvey would be more involved. But he's clearly been the lead so far. And he's been the lead in that kind of mid-teen touches, but it's not just the mid-teen touches, it's what he's doing with them. You pick a metric, and he's top 15 across the board. Oh, by the way, he's also number 5 in yards after contact. So, he's getting touches, he's getting yards, he's getting production, he's doing everything, getting usage inside the red zone and at the goal line. And I just look at J.K. Dobbins, it's kind of nobody wants to give him that respect because they're all well, R.J. Harvey's coming, and we've done this before with J.K. Dobbins. And yeah, but it's funny that we've also done this before with J.K. Dobbins, similar to old Christian Kirk, not this year Christian Kirk, but where we said, as long as he's on the field, he's productive. Well, he's on the field right now, and he's productive, and he's J.K. Dobbins. So I think I'm buying in. I have him as a top 15-ish running back this week, and it depends on the format, but he's right there. And I'm just ready to set it and forget it for Dobbins until it potentially goes sideways because it's Sean Payton. But until it does, it might not even happen.
Today's show is brought to you by our new presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet. The Hard Rock Bet Sportsbook app is clean, easy to use, and it's also packed with trends, insights, and odds you can check out any day of the week. Week 4 kicks off tonight with a divisional battle between Seattle and Arizona. Check out this streak from the Hard Rock Bet Stats Hub right there in the app. If you play fantasy, you love quarterbacks who run. Kyler Murray has rushed for 32, or at least 32, I should say, yards in 5 straight games as an underdog versus NFC West opponents. Sam Darnold, not known for his wheels, actually has at least 11 yards rushing in 4 straight games against NFC West opponents. His over is at just 7.5 yards in the Hard Rock Bet app. Still haven't placed your first bet on Hard Rock Bet? It's not too late. Place your first $5 bet, and if it wins, you'll score $150 in bonus bets on top of your payout. Plus, tonight on Hard Rock Bet, you can get a Thursday night parlay boost for the game. Boost your parlay so it pays extra winnings. There's new promos every day if you're listening to this later. Just open up the app and check out what you've got on any day of the week. Download the Hard Rock Bet app and make your first deposit. Guys, let's get into our start-sit player debates. Fitz, you might have noticed I did not ask you what you thought of J.K. Dobbins after he was the plant your flag player for Jake. That's because I want to make our first start-sit debate J.K. Dobbins versus Cam Skattebo. So obviously you guys have planted your flags on these two players, but I want to kind of talk it out, these two against each other, and kind of how you see them in the rankings. So Fitz, where does J.K. Dobbins rank relative to Skattebo for you?
Well, so I've got Dobbins at RB 20. So like
I hate him.
Exactly. I'm bullish. And, you know, what Jake was saying about RJ Harvey, like RJ Harvey could come on and still have it not affect the value of J.K. Dobbins fundamentally. Like, I feel like maybe they were trying to give Harvey a little more work last week. I think he only had 5 touches, but maybe he had 2, including, I think, a pretty nice gain that was called back by penalty. It doesn't matter. Like, Sean Payton's backfields have routinely had 2 fantasy viable running backs, dating back to his days in New Orleans when it was like Kamara and Mark Ingram and Deuce McAllister and Reggie Bush. Like, this always happens in Sean Payton backfields, and Dobbins is the lead guy now, and he's just got a marshmallow soft matchup against the Bengals this week. So wheels up, but I'm super aggressive on Skattebo this week. I'm ranking him RB 14, and I think the ECR right now is like RB 23 or whatever. Like, I am all the way in on this guy.
But yeah, that's a good call. So Skattebo's RB 23 in half PPR ECR. Dobbins is RB 21. So they're very close to each other, which is why I thought it'd be fun to include them, given that you guys are both kind of making your stances clear here. So you don't hate Dobbins, despite what Jake is joking.
Do not.
You just are extremely high on Skattebo relative to consensus. Jake, how do you see these two like relative to each other? How wide is the gap in your rankings?
A little bit. Apparently, I hate Skattebo after glowingly talking about him because it comes down to matchups this week. And Fitz is right, is that they did get Harvey more involved, but interesting enough in that, I'm not coming for this, Fitz, I'm just pointing for everybody out there that might think otherwise, is that Dobbins actually had his highest running back touch percentage of the 3 games so far. His Batty got eliminated, but they split Batty's touches to Dobbins, and obviously more in the run game, and Harvey more in the passing game. And I agree with everything that he said. And I think the problem, real quick to go back to Dobbins like, in this whole workload situation, the RJ Harvey, is everybody's picturing Alvin Kamara with Mark Ingram or something like that, where Kamara was the guy. But they're not going to have Kamara every single time. Like this version, which is a lesser Kamara, can be on the flip side, reversing the roles. So not roles, but the touch percentage. So that's why. Like, if you gave me Giants versus Bengals and Broncos versus Chargers and that kind of matchup, I would probably just flip their spots. It really just comes down to matchup for me this week, and that's why I have Dobbins in front of Skattebo. But if you wanted to argue for Skattebo, I'm not going to call you bonkers, but apparently I do hate him this week. I'm the one that hates him.
You can check out the expert ranks. If you go to a player's like page on Fantasy Pros and click rankings, you can see where every expert has him ranked and who has him ranked highest. Fitz is tied for the second highest ranking. There are 3 folks who have him at RB 14. Fitz is one of them. But you're behind somebody who doesn't have him just one spot ahead, but who has him all the way up at RB 10 this week. So
wow. That was going to be my guess, was 10.
Yeah, we have an outlier ranking there from Lou Brunson. I'm sorry, I don't know who that is, but Lou Brunson has him very high.
It might be right. Hey, I'll be fair. The last time we were this far apart, last week, my plant my flag, not only went into quicksand, it kind of swallowed me up with it. And I'm pretty sure most people want me to stay there in the quicksand because my plant my flag last week and Jake Browning
that was a
went
tough one.
as sideways as possibly it could. That offensive line is like us three trying to block. Holy hell.
That was, I told you last week that I accidentally put a typo in the show sheet where I put joke Browning, and that ended up becoming more accurate.
You were the right
Jake
one.
Browning.
Yeah, I was wrong.
that was, should have been a predictor for us. All right. So you guys, made it clear who you take in that debate.
Side with Fitz.
Yeah. Let's go. I always say that. I'm always like, if Fitz and I disagree, go with Fitz. I'm probably wrong. Our second running back debate here, Javonte Williams or Travis Etienne. Jake, I'll start with you on this one. Who do you like better this week?
I like Etienne. I know he's going against the 49ers, and I know that Tuten's been involved, but I still think that Etienne is the guy. Similar to Dobbins. Like the fact that Tuten, to Fitz's point, I'll echo kind of something he just said. Just because Tuten's getting more value doesn't mean it comes at the detriment to Etienne. And I know some of it was saved late in that game last week, but I still look at Etienne being the guy in Dobbins. Maybe it's not 85% like it was the first 2 weeks, but similar to the Dobbins situation, they're kind of in the same bucket for me. I take Dobbins ahead of him. I have Etienne more in line with, I like his situation better this week, but Skattebo's got the volume where I have them closely ranked. And Javonte Williams just comes down to the fact that he's facing the Packers. I think last week's volume being down a little bit was mostly about that game and the game script. But I don't want to start people against the Packers if I can avoid it in a timeshare. So I have a decently sized get. Like Javonte Williams of the 4 running backs we've talked about so far is the lowest.
So interestingly, if you look at ECR, Javonte Williams is the highest, but they are all back to back to back to back. It goes Javonte Williams at RB20, then Dobbins, then Etienne at RB22, then Skattebo. So these guys are all kind of in a very similar range.
Unless Fitz is going to agree with me, there's no way Williams should be in front of all three of those, especially Skattebo and Dobbins.
What do you think, Fitz?
No, I've got Javonte behind all those guys, and I've got Etienne ranked higher here. Like Etienne's usage has been really consistent. He's at least 14 carries and 2 targets in each of the Jaguars' first 3 games. He's pretty much been the best thing about the Jacksonville offense so far. And it's not that I'm down on Javonte. I think he's been kind of a pleasant surprise. And the Green Bay run defense, maybe not impregnable as Quintin Judkins demonstrated last week.
Yep.
Like it is easier to run on the Packers than to throw on them, but the Cowboys have lost 2 of their 3 starting interior linemen in the last couple of weeks. First, it was center Cooper Beebe, who's on IR now, and now it's first-round guard Tyler Booker, who won't play this week. There might not be all that much room for Javonte to run, and I kind of don't expect the game script to be real run-friendly for the Cowboys in the Micah Parsons ball. I kind of think the Packers are going to stomp them.
I can't say the quote because it's inappropriate, but anytime I hear the word impregnable, I think of Bronn talking about the Eyrie in Game of Thrones, and so hopefully people know the quote I'm talking about. Drop in the comments.
Just got the reference.
Yeah, that's what I always think about. Yeah, I was going to ask you, Fitz, what you thought about Green Bay's run defense, specifically coming off of what we saw from Quintin Judkins last week. I know it's not a game you really want to spend a lot of time revisiting, but and again, shouts to you for calling this last week. That all the the stuff going on with your daughter's birthday and what happened when she was born, and
the 20-year curse, man.
You nailed it, yeah, on this one. But so you don't think like that Quintin Judkins performance was like. Or I guess what I'm asking is how much do you think that's indicative of this run defense going forward?
Yeah, I mean, maybe the Packers run I don't think it's a bad run defense, but it might just be average. So I think a lot of teams will try to run on the Packers until they can't, until they're in a position where the score dictates that they can't lean on the run. Because like if you run on early downs against the Packers and don't get anything, like you don't want to be in 3rd and 7 against this team all the time. Like that is a recipe for failure.
Let's go to some wide receiver debates. Jake, I'll start with you here. Ricky Pearsall or Zay Flowers in week 4? Who do you like better?
So I'm laughing because this is the Zay Flowers. We're doing this again. And I'm laughing because you and I talked about it a ton in the preseason. I know Fitz was on some of those, but like we have Zay Flowers top 3 finish. We have Zay Flowers about 30-ish, and we have Zay Flowers at 80. This is who Zay Flowers is. Like, you just have to accept the Zay Flowers. This is why I wanted him as a wide receiver 3. I didn't get him anywhere as a wide receiver 3 because he was always going as a 2. And that's why I didn't want to do it, is because he's more wide receiver 30, because some of these downs are really downs because of Lamar Jackson in this offense. Don't force anything. He's thrown it to like 75 different people already through 3 games. Like, he's just going to whoever he feels like and whatever's given. And that's great for them. But all that said, I would still go Zay Flowers this week. I think Zay Flowers matches up well for the matchup against the Chiefs. I have Pearsall close to him, and it would probably almost be neck and neck if Juwan Jennings doesn't return. We have to obviously wait and see on that, but I do think that Jennings coming back would almost have me... If he was in full practice at, like we're doing this before we know on Thursday, full practice Thursday and then full practice on Friday, I would probably put Jennings just barely in front of Pearsall because Jennings is the guy when out there. But it really comes down to how healthy is he. It's 3 games in a row with Jennings. So if there's no Jennings, Pearsall's on his heels. But if there is Jennings, then he drops and it's a bigger gap.
Who do you think's more likely, Jake, to catch a touchdown in this one? Because Zay has 1 on the season. Pearsall has caught 9. You know my feelings on Zay Flowers and the end zone. I just don't think it's prudent to ever really project a touchdown there. But like I said, Pearsall doesn't have one yet. So who do you think's more likely to get in the end zone?
For this week, Tylan Wallace.
Yeah, probably.
No, I actually think Zay Flowers could get one. I actually think if I had to bet between the two of them, just because I'm going to bet on Lamar Jackson over Brock Purdy every time.
Okay. Fitz, what do you think, Zay Flowers or Pearsall? Not the touchdown side, but just who do you like better this week?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with Jake's summary of the Zay Flowers experience. So I'm going with Pearsall here, but it's a conditional endorsement. Like, it hinges on Brock Purdy coming back after missing last week with a toe injury, and it is looking like Purdy will be back. It hinges on Juwan Jennings remaining out with an ankle injury, and I don't think he was practicing as of Wednesday. And by the way, I disagree with Jake. I think Pearsall's better than Jennings. I just do. And it hinges on
talent. I think that Jennings is the number 1 option for the team, despite the talent. I will agree with you. I would take Pearsall talent over Jennings. It's just he's clearly been the one when they're both out there treatment-wise. And that also comes from, I'm just echoing beat reporters that say every single time they're on the field together, Jennings is the one. So I agree with you. I actually, it's funny, I agree with you, Fitz. I don't agree with their usage. I wish Pearsall was treated as the one.
Yeah. I mean, give it time with Pearsall. Like, I think he overtakes Jennings for sure. And, like, we have to make sure Pearsall himself is playing. He missed practice Wednesday with, I think, what's believed to be a minor knee issue. He himself says he's playing. But Pearsall was a huge part of the game plan last week against the Cardinals. 11 targets, 8 catches, 117 yards. He and Christian McCaffrey were pretty much the entire San Francisco passing game. Like, they combined for 26 targets. All other 49ers pass catchers had 12 combined. And, if Jennings stays out, I think Pearsall is going to have a big day at home against the Jaguars.
Fantasy Pros has an Are They Playing tool. It's giving Ricky Pearsall just a 41% chance to play based on historic trends right now, but that tends to get a lot more accurate later in the week. It's still Thursday morning, so a couple of days of practice reports to come. And like you said, Pearsall has talked about himself playing, so I would just continue to keep an eye on that. By the way, just because I asked about it, just to give everybody the odds on Hard Rock Bet, plus 150 anytime touchdown scorer for Zay Flowers, plus 135 anytime touchdown scorer for Ricky Pearsall. So they think it's maybe slightly more likely for Pearsall to do it, but sure, in a similar range.
Pretty aggressive odds. I was expecting that's kind of tight there.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that, honestly. All right, one more wide receiver debate here in kind of our main debate section. Jake, Lad McConkey or...
Oh, I thought you were going to Fitz first. That's why I was taking a sip, because you went to first on the last one. You threw me off there. Go ahead, continue.
No, it's okay. Fitz's mic sounded a little quiet on the last one, so I was going to give him a chance for maybe his internet to catch up or something. Otherwise, I would have gone to him. So you had the right idea, but I was trying to be adaptable here. I'll stick with you, Jake. Lad McConkey or Brian Thomas Jr.?
This one's painful. I mean, between the two of them, both things have gone. Like, I brought this up before when we were having the Luther Burden talk. Lad McConkey's been the one left out. And we're all just like, oh, it's going to correct itself. But Quintin Johnston finally looks like the first round talent. Keenan Allen has not gone away. He looks actually better than he did at any point last year. Looked like he did from 2 years ago. And granted, he's on the field the least, and he's out there in a lot of 3 wide and running a lot of the slot. But I have major concerns for Lad McConkey, also for the fact that the Giants secondary can get beat up all day long. But one of the bigger things too is like, especially getting those deep balls with Quintin Johnston, by the way. So now it comes down to, I think Johnston's going to have a big game. He's the one that ranked the highest of the Chargers. And then it comes down to Ladd and Keenan Allen. And do they even need to throw that much against the Giants? So all that circles back to say is I'm going to give Brian Thomas the slight edge, even against the 49ers. 49ers defense is good. It's not great. But also everything is there for Brian Thomas. Everything. Like if you looked at it, if you peeled the name off and didn't know the team he was playing for and just left out reception percentage and looked at everything else, you're like, oh my God, this guy's in line for like top 10 performance, given all the opportunities, all the targets that he's getting, all the red zone work, like everything is there. It's just not connecting. And I think that, as we've talked about before, it's definitely a Trevor Lawrence issue. And Brian Thomas does have a few drops to his name, and I think it's being magnified because everybody's got their eyes on Brian Thomas as a pick that went wrong so far. But I'm just going to give Brian Thomas the slight edge because I still, at least when it at the end of the day comes, I know there's no question he's a top 2 option for his team. Right now, Ladd McConkey is kind of the third. I don't know if he is a top 2 any given week right now.
How do you see this, Fitz?
I'm taking Ladd McConkey here pretty easily. And yes. Easily. I mean, like, my concerns with Ladd are far less than they are with Brian Thomas Jr. Like, Quintin Johnston and Keenan Allen, currently top 10 fantasy receivers. Ladd, as you said earlier, Jake, wide receiver 49.5 point PPR. I'm not worried. Like, Ladd is the Chargers' best receiver, period. And the presence of Keenan Allen and QJ make Ladd more of a wide receiver 2 than the low-end wide receiver 1 he was last year. But Ladd is going to get it going. Brian Thomas Jr. has a 28% catch rate right now, 25 targets, 7 catches. He's averaging 4.6 yards per target and 1.04 yards per route run after averaging 9.6 yards per target and 2.45 yards per route run last year as a rookie. Look, I'm not one to push the panic button easily on players. If anything, I'm patient to a fault and don't get struggling players out of my lineup quickly enough. I am mashing the panic button on Brian Thomas Jr. Like, he and Trevor Lawrence have zero chemistry. BTJ is dropping passes, and it seems like he's going out of his way to avoid contact, which makes me wonder if his wrist injury is really bothering him. Like, it's not like BTJ isn't tough. This dude played through a chest injury last year that probably a lot of other guys would have sat with. And I would love to see BTJ go for 100 yards and a touchdown this week and show us that he's fine, but I'm not betting on that outcome at all.
These are, and again, 2 names that are just 2 spots apart in the rankings. Ladd McConkey, wide receiver 20. Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver 22, just to state that for the record. Fitz, would you be looking to, like, sell low on Thomas right now if you're panicking this much?
Yeah, I mean, yes. And based on some of the Discord questions I've gotten this week, where it seems like some people are willing to buy not that low, like, yes, I think a lot of people think he's going to snap out of this. Oh, man, like, I mean, I would absolutely take Cam Skattebo for Brian Thomas Jr. right now. I'd jump at that. Absolutely jump at that.
What about wide receiver versus wide receiver? Like,
I mean, I hate challenge trades where it's a position position, but like...
But no. Well, because I think this is interesting. I want to go back to the Luther Burden thing. DJ Moore, who's been kind of disappointing, or Brian Thomas, because I think...
That one just
like,
because...
I would take Brian Thomas all day long. Well, here's why. So, like, the drops, his drop percentage is 12. It's kind of high, but we're talking about Mike Evans is over 10%. We're talking about the fact that, like, Marvin Harrison's at 11 point something. Like, he's in the range of, like, a higher end one, but he's also... Emeka Egbuka and Deebo Samuel are almost 10% each. Like, it's not an enormous number. It's high, especially for Brian Thomas. But, again, I point to, like, Eric Ebron back in the day, Quintin Johnston for his first 2 seasons. Like, drops get, and you know this, Fitz, and this isn't like for everybody out there, like, Fitz isn't sitting there going like, oh, I can't believe Jake's coming for me on this. Like, drops get magnified for people watching football, especially in fantasy, and they're overrated. You can't have drops without targets. Like, CeeDee Lamb was getting crucified after week 1. Like, drops happen. Where I will agree, the one concern of caution, I agree with you, Fitz, 100% on, is what if it's the wrist? And that's leading to the drops, but also leading to, as you said, the avoiding contact. He made the business decision. He's not the first wide receiver to do it, but what if that wrist just isn't 100%? And that's really an issue that they're just kind of masking right now.
Yeah.
Like, to your point, Fitz,
Go
by the
ahead.
way, about not maybe needing to even sell all that low. I'm looking at our consensus rest of season rankings. These are flex rankings, so it's, all positions around him. He is still ranked pretty highly. The names that are like he is sandwiched between in both directions: Omarion Hampton, Zay Flowers, Ashton Genty, Tetairoa McMillan, Kenneth Walker, Roma Dunze, Travis Etienne. Like, it's not really selling all that low if you are going based off those consensus rankings.
You can take a lot of those names. I don't know if I would take 100% of them, but pretty close. And you brought up that trade before, Fitz, which I thought was a good one. I think the other part too here is like to go the wide receiver. You hate the challenge trades, but I think if you're sitting pretty, I'd buy Mike Evans for the cheap until he came back.
Yeah, I think I'd rather have Evans than BTJ rest of season. I agree with that.
All right, let's go to a more rapid fire start sit segment. Got a running back one, a wide receiver one, some flex ones. We'll throw in a quarterback and tight end one as well. Running back, Isiah Pacheco or Rhamondre Stevenson. Obviously, Pacheco has been quite bad this season, Fitz. Rhamondre, of course, coming off this fumble issue. Mike Vrabel has said, like, he needs to get over this because we need Rhamondre, but the fumbling has been an issue for a long time in his career. We are all just craving an opportunity here for TreVeyon Henderson. So are we going to get that? And the Pacheco, we were talking about it a little before the show, Fitz. Like, the defensive line for the Ravens is entirely injured. Nnamdi Madubuike might not play again this year or ever with this neck injury. The Ravens defense has already been bad, and now their defensive line is even more banged up than it has been. They're just coming off this game where they got run over by the Lions. So maybe this could be the week that Pacheco finally breaks out. How do you see this one, Pacheco or Rhamondre?
I have Pacheco one spot higher. Like, rough start for Pacheco, yes, but maybe this Ravens run defense, which we were talking about before the show, Worm, like, could be a get well card for Isiah Pacheco. And at least we know he's not in the doghouse, or at least I don't think. And like, Rhamondre Stevenson is probably one more fumble away from getting thrown into fumble jail. And that's been an ongoing problem for Rhamondre Stevenson. And like last week, he is on the cusp of like losing his seat at the table in the Patriots backfield.
What do you think, Jake?
I picked it back up because, yeah. I have him back to back. I have Stevenson. Actually, no, I don't have him back to back. I'm even lower than you on this. I was looking at TreVeyon Henderson for this whole point here. I have Stevenson one front and Henderson, both of them in front of both Chiefs running backs. I don't want any of them. Like, seriously, find another one. What is the upside here? Any of them. They need a touchdown. You look at the Giants last week, who could be run on. Jakari Krosky-Merritt had the 82 yards on just 10 carries and a touchdown. Javonte Williams went off against the Giants. And then who got the touchdown last week? They keep turning to Kareem Hunt in those opportunities for the touchdown. I don't want a Chiefs running back. I don't want a Patriots running back because you're not wrong, Fitz, but it took 3 fumbles in that dang game for them to finally be like, hey, maybe we use our best talent in the backfield. Would it shock anybody if they came out and all of a sudden TreVeyon's still number 3 and Stevenson's back to leading this game and he needs one fumble? One fumble in the first quarter, one fumble in the second quarter, one fumble in the third, and finally they'll go away from him. I don't want any of them, but they're facing Carolina, and that's why I'll give Stevenson the slight edge. Despite what you brought up, you're not wrong about the defensive line for your Ravens. This is almost like sociopath. I embrace the pain here. Like, I just have a feeling that the Patriots are going to do that and go right back to Stevenson.
I think you might be right, honestly, which is why I would lean towards Pacheco. I think Pacheco has a better chance of getting a touchdown just because I think there will be touchdowns scored in this game. I just think there will be a lot of touchdowns.
I think it's Hunt's when they get down there, which is the problem.
It is.
Totally
the
valid
goal line guy.
Rebuttal. It's totally possible, but I'm giving Pacheco one more chance here.
Can we pick something nicer than that matchup? Like, that was terrible.
Well, how about Quintin Johnston versus Jameson Williams for the receiver side, Jake? Does that one work for you?
It does. And
who do you like?
This Quintin Johnston, despite I talked up Jameson Williams, like, this is the matchup for Jameson Williams to have. And if I could find it real quick, and as I'm talking about Quintin Johnston though, but like the Quintin Johnston, I already brought up the big plays for him and why its opportunity is there. But here you go. Jameson Williams against man coverage this year, which the Browns are almost 50-50 in using man coverage, which, by the way, also is a league high 49%. 49%, which is crazy that a defense still uses man coverage that much. Jameson Williams against man coverage this year, and it was already super high last year, but this year's number is ridiculous. 23.03 EPA versus man, which is an absurd number because it's such a small sample. But this is Jameson Williams that we saw last year, which was the point, is that he does better against man coverage than he does against zone, because what is Jameson Williams' skill set? And like, we know that, just objectively know that and subjectively know that. So you look at the number, and I say this is a Jameson Williams game. All that being said, is I'm still going with Quintin Johnston until it stops. And it's just connecting right now. Again, he's been the one. This is a defense that also gets caught behind and the deep ball plenty already through 3 weeks. I'm going to take Quintin Johnston against the Giants secondary. It's close, but I have a feeling it's just going to go bad this week. This is when it turns into a pumpkin. We're not quite to October yet, but so hopefully I get one more week.
Fitz?
Yeah, I have JMO ranked a little higher, and I don't have a lot of confidence in this call, but as Jake noted, like the matchup against a team that likes to play man. Quintin Johnston, though, has drawn twice as many targets as Jameson Williams so far, 24-12. And yet, we know Jameson Williams doesn't necessarily need heavy target volume in order to pop. Like, he's currently averaging 21.8 yards per catch and 14.5 yards per target. So, but all credit to, this goes back to what Jake was just saying about drops and, dredging up names like Eric Ebron. Like, QJ had the yips early in his career. So all credit to him for keeping his chin up and surviving that case of the dropsies, which actually at one point looked pretty career threatening. So, but still, I do think Jameson Williams is the better player this week.
This was I credit to whoever it was. I don't remember, so I'm sorry, but this is the Happy Gilmore learned how to putt. Quintin Johnston learned how to catch.
Yeah. I have seen Happy Gilmore.
There you go.
Yeah, there's one. Although I think Big Daddy's better among the Adam Sandler movies. That's
oh gosh, here we go again.
Let's go to a flex one here. Tony Pollard or Tetairoa McMillan this week. Fitz, who do you like better?
Pollard. McMillan's looked really good so far. No one else has gotten no one's gotten excited about Tony Pollard this year. And yet Tony Pollard is averaging 9.8 half-point PPR fantasy points per game, and McMillan is at 9.5. And with Tyjae Spears on IR, Pollard has gotten no fewer than 18 touches in any of the Titans' first 3 games. McMillan, also matchup problems, goes against the Patriots. New England's pass D has been really bad so far, but one of the reasons for that, ace coverman Christian Gonzalez has been out with a hamstring injury. He is expected back this week, and he is probably going to lock up with Tetairoa McMillan quite a bit. Give me Tony Pollard here.
Jake, who do you prefer?
Yeah, Pollard slightly, and that's coming from somebody that didn't want Pollard this year because it's all volume. Like, we just saw the volume last year, and he was RB24 in fantasy points per game. Well, he's all volume this year, and he's not even RB24. He's just outside of it, but he's right there still. But until Spears comes back, which then I'm definitely concerned, and sell before you can if you can get some value elsewhere, or even a buy low running back situation with Tony Pollard. But at least for right now, yeah, he brought up the Christian Gonzalez thing with McMillan. I still have him very close, but I would go Pollard barely over McMillan in this situation.
Jake, how about TreVeyon Henderson or Calvin Ridley? I know you already said that you don't really want to do anything with the backfield, but would you start Henderson over Ridley?
So this feels like I'm chasing ceilings for both, because the Henderson situation, like, yeah, okay, he got the first run in practice. That could just be Vrabel being Vrabel, like, just to kind of trick everybody. Like, I would love the answer to be, if you told me Henderson 55%, I don't even need 65, just 55% of the touches. It'd be like Henderson all day long, because it's been so gross between Cam Ward and Ridley. They're not on the same page. This is Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas all over again. All the numbers are there for Calvin Ridley. He leads the team in routes and opportunities and targets and everything like that, and even air yards. It's just not connecting. So I say that to say these are ceiling plays. Both of them are to me, with possible zeros for both. So in that case, I would actually go with the wide receiver, because on a per touch basis, if they both only get 4, 6 at the most, then Ridley's going to have the higher ceiling.
Fitz?
I'm going with Henderson, even though we can't predict the backfield.
Which I get it.
Yeah, and it's possible Stevenson is not in fact, in the doghouse, and maybe Gibson isn't either. But I do think Henderson is probably in line for more work this week after being the one who didn't put the ball on the ground last week in a bad loss to the Steelers. So
I hope so.
Plus, really good matchup against the Panthers' run defense, which remains bad. Worst in the league last year. Panthers are giving up 5.7 yards per carry to running backs this year. And I just don't want to play Calvin Ridley right now. Like, I think he's leading the NFL in drops. Like, he has been really bad this year.
Another flex one here. Fitz, Nick Chubb or Michael Pittman Jr.?
I do like the spot for Pittman. Like, Colts-Rams is a Vegas total of around 50, and that game could be a shootout, and the Colts are probably not going to have Alec Pierce, who's recovering from a concussion, so maybe a few extra targets siphoned Michael Pittman Jr.'s way. But I do tend to favor the running back in these flex debates between running backs and receivers. So that's the case here, too. Give me Nick Chubb. He's had at least 11 touches in every game so far. I think he has the safer floor.
Fitz, what do you think?
Yeah.
Or excuse me, Jake.
Fitz or Jake?
Yeah. Jake is what
I was like, I'll barely go there too, especially when you talk about with the Rams situation. So I think you're looking at the matchup slightly with Nick Chubb because the Titans, I'm okay going against them and giving the volume there. The Rams have kind of been hit or miss and like covering wide receivers. Yeah, that's who they play this week, right? I'm correct, like the Colts and or am I misremembering?
Colts at Rams.
Colts and yeah. So I could see them focusing on Pittman and kind of limiting the upside for Daniel Jones, and Daniel Jones ends up doing more with Jonathan Taylor, and it's all on the ground, and Tyler Warren, obviously. But that's why, like, it's not an overly concerning matchup, if that I was remembering correctly, but it's enough that I'll lean to the volume of the running back.
One more flex here, Jake. Bhayshul, Tuten, or Jordan Addison coming back?
I'll go with Tuten. And like, it just comes down to they're starting to get him incorporated more. And that was before when I was saying that I'm not worried too much for Travis Etienne. But the Tuten usage, if we're talking about RJ Harvey usage and we're talking about 10 touches a game, it really comes down to the first game back. And I know it wasn't an injury, but Jordan Addison coming back to what is probably going to be a pretty conservative offense. The Steelers' defense hasn't been that good, especially against the run, so you could probably see another 20 touches for Jordan Mason in this game. And a Carson Wentz, at this point of his career, he already kind of was to a degree, but even so much more so. Like, he's so game manager, you might as well just take Carson Wentz out and slap Andy Dalton in there at this point. I just feel like how many pass attempts you're going to have. Is he going to even force it to Jordan Addison when you have Jefferson? And then they finally started to show a connection with Hawkinson after late in the game the week before. There was a good connection throughout the game last week. It's just how many opportunities is Addison going to get? So this is one where I'll just go for Tuten in the backfield.
Fitz, I'm not sure if you've talked about this on earlier shows this week. I wasn't able to listen this week due to my schedule, so I don't know if this is the first time you've talked about it. Yeah.
Support your coworkers.
I apologize. But I am really curious because I know you have been a Jordan Addison fan, coming into the season in general, setting aside the suspension stuff. So I'm curious where you have him ranked in his first week back, especially considering, like Jake said, it's not coming off an injury, so you wouldn't think there would be that kind of rust, maybe a different kind of rust, obviously. And then, of course, the questions with the offense. But do you like Tuten or Addison better this week?
I like Addison, but I struggled with this one. I mean, this is one of those dilemmas you face when you're in a 16-team league, I think. And, and one of the things, and this is not exactly an argument for Addison in this case, like, the first time Carson Wentz has ever thrown a pass to Jordan Addison was Wednesday, in Vikings practice. Like, that was the first time these guys have worked together. And, like, I don't even know if Addison plays full snaps in his first game back from suspension. But still, like, Addison is just a terrific player, like a fantastic player. And I don't know where we are on Bhayshul Tuten yet. Like, he's played 30. Go ahead.
I was going to say my one counter argument, too, against Addison is that I feel like this Vikings defense is just going to murder Aaron Rodgers. And, like, they just grind out the clock with Mason all day long. And that's part of my, like, again, why I go back to, does Wentz even attempt 30 passes in this game? I wouldn't be surprised if it's low 20s.
The Vikings recipe for success is probably trying to hide Carson Wentz as much as possible. So you could be right about that, Jake. But, like, at the same time, Bhayshul Tuten, like, he's interesting, but he's played 34 snaps in his first 3 games. Like,
You're not wrong.
I don't think he's startable yet.
Got a quarterback one here, Bryce Young or Jaxson Dart in his first career NFL start. Jake, what do you think about this one?
Let's go, Jaxson Dart. But it really doesn't even come down to the Giants. It doesn't even come down to Jaxson. Actually, it kind of does come down to Jaxson Dart because I'm going to reference a joke I made, but like this is where it comes into fantasy. Like when they drafted Jaxson Dart, I was like, congratulations, Giants. You just drafted Daniel Jones 2.0. But I'm saying that like I do think Dart has a higher ceiling, although Daniel Jones this year is a completely different story. But Daniel Jones to Jaxson Dart to Drake May, I need the Spider-Man 3 people all pointing at each other because that's what we have in fantasy. We have the rushing upside of 500, 600, maybe even 700 best case scenario for all of them. So you have that rushing appeal, but you also have similar styles of quarterback when it comes to throwing the ball. I like Dart more than Daniel Jones as a pure passer, and that's the opportunity here. Now let's also look at it. He has Malik Neighbors. Like, also, everything being equal to Drake May, and now even including this conversation toss-up that you brought up was Bryce Young. Well, as much as we all love the opportunities for Tetairoa and McMillan, I like Malik Neighbors more than McMillan any day of the week. So I'm going to give the edge to Jaxson Dart. But if Fitz disagrees, and we just did the Jake Browning thing, I'm just ready for Jaxson Dart to finish his QB 29 this week. I'm just letting you know right now.
Fitz, do you disagree?
Well, I don't know. I almost walked out when Jake threw Drake May in with these guys. Like, what the heck? Drake May and Jaxson Dart? What?
They're all the same.
No, dude. Drake May is good. Drake May is good.
No.
Like,
Drake May's better Sam Howell. Like, he's better.
No,
but
come on, Jake.
He's not
Jake.
on another tier of Jaxson Dart and Daniel Jones.
He absolutely is on another tier.
No.
Like, he is a much
better
better passer. Oh my goodness. Like,
for whatever it's
he
worth,
is on a different planet than these guys.
In expert consensus rankings right now, and I know that's not only what you're talking about, Jake, Drake May is QB 6 for the week, and Bryce Young is QB 23, and Jaxson Dart is QB 27.
Watch
so
Drake May
like
throw the football and watch Jaxson Dart throw the football. There's no
Drake
comparison.
May is overrated.
Oh my goodness. So I have Bryce Young ranked a little higher than Dart. Like, they're both outside the 20. Totally possible that Dart runs for enough yardage to outproduce Bryce Young in fantasy. But like, first NFL exposure, Dart's passing numbers probably aren't going to be very pretty in his first NFL starts. I think Young might be just a little better percentage play. Yeah, good Chargers defense too.
Jake's out here calling him fake May, not Drake May. He's
man.
I said he's better, but he's not. Like, this isn't another world better.
Yeah.
I'm going different galaxy.
Do you have Drake
better.
May as a top 10 quarterback in the NFL?
Oh yeah. Right.
We have
right
a whole
now,
other show. There's
like,
no way.
Right here and now. He's already there,
Fitz,
man.
You're just talking fantasy, right? You're not saying top 10 non-fantasy, or are you saying in real life?
I mean, like,
because I am with Jake on this. I think clear top 10 fantasy quarterback. I do not think he's a top 10 NFL quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, are we putting like Bo Nix ahead of him? Like, I certainly wouldn't.
There's a lot of good quarterbacks in the NFL.
There are not a lot. I mean, I'd rather have Drake May right now than Kyler Murray. I'd rather have
Okay.
I think I'd rather have Drake May than a pretty immobile Matthew Stafford. Mayfield? Yeah, I mean, like Baker's more fully formed right now. Baker's better right now, and Brock
Drake
Purdy
May or
is
Jared
probably
Goff
better.
to lead your team.
Yeah, I mean,
I just think you
right
can get to 10
now,
pretty
Goff,
quick. Not talking fantasy. I think it gets like Allen, Lamar.
Two different
Hurts,
conversations
Herbert.
for everybody watching this show. To be clear, Drake May, I have as QB1. I have Drake May inside my top 10. To be clear,
but like,
I'm just talking about pure NFL as a thrower. I think he's better. Like, I want to make that clear. He is better than those two. I just think stylistically they're in the same bucket where, like, if we were doing tiers, put it this way. Like, if I had an imaginary better version of Drake May would be tier 2. Both of them would be tier 3. It just sounded like you were saying Drake May's tier 1 and both of these dudes are tier 4. That's kind of what
I think he's a better quarterback right now than Daniel Jones. Sorry.
Yes.
And
yes. No. I agree.
Jaxson Dart, like, isn't even on the map yet. Like, I don't even know if he has the Drake May starter kit. I mean, we'll find out, but like, let's see it.
Well, that did not go the direction I expected it to. So that was an interesting.
That's what makes it fun.
We got a tight end one here for everybody. Hunter Henry coming off a really big game, or Jake Ferguson, who's going to have this real opportunity with Lamb now missing a few weeks. So Jake, or I think I started you last time, so I'll start with you, Fitz. Hunter Henry or Jake Ferguson?
I spent like 15 minutes the other day trying to figure out which of these two should be ranked higher. Like I ultimately sided with...
So 14 minutes too much?
Yeah, pretty much. I ultimately sided with Jake Ferguson, mainly because of my University of Wisconsin bias. And like, look, there is not a lot to celebrate with Wisconsin football these days for him. I mean, the Badgers actually just lost a home game to the Maryland Terrapins. That's how bad it is.
I wasn't going to say anything. I want it on record. I hope everybody clocked the fact that I did not bring up that game once to you, Fitz.
So with Wisconsin football being this hapless, I have to search for reasons to be proud about the Badgers. So I'm going to celebrate the fact that Jake Ferguson is currently on pace for 153 catches this season. His 27 catches trail only Puka Nacua. And, Fergie's going to be really busy again this week with CeeDee Lamb out. The Packers seem like a tough matchup, but they've actually given up the 6th most fantasy points to tight ends. But, look, Henry is a great option too. Currently, your tight end 1 in half-point PPR fantasy scoring, and he gets a great matchup against the Panthers, who gave up the most fantasy points to tight ends in 2024 and have given up the 8th most to tight ends this year.
First of all, since you brought it up, not me, I'm going to correct you and say that Wisconsin didn't just lose at home to Maryland. They got their doors blown off them at home to Maryland. It was a demolition by a true freshman quarterback for Maryland making his first career Big Ten start. And
it's too bad he's going to transfer to a different school next year.
No, people keep saying that. He's a hometown guy. That's not going to happen. He's going to be... I told you already. I was like, 2028 Dynasty first-round picks. Start saving him up for Malik Washington right now. Speaking of Dynasty, I actually want to ask you a quick question, Fitz. One of our coworkers, Brandon, who we all love here at Fantasy Pros on the dev team, he messaged me yesterday asking if he should move off Isiah Likely for Jake Ferguson in a dynasty league. And my response to him was, Jake Ferguson is definitely better than Isiah Likely for 2025, but I think Likely is better than Ferguson long term because I really believe that he will not be sharing a tight end room with Mark Andrews next year, whether it's in Baltimore or somewhere else. So I was basically saying, like, if you're going to win now, I'd go with Ferguson. But if you want to think long term, I'd go with Likely. What do you think about that question?
I agree with your assessment. Higher ceiling for Likely. Ferguson is useful, but ultimately he is kind of a catch and fall down.
The other thing is Brandon also has Tyler Warren. So I was like, you already have an upside tight end. Just aim for more upside, right? You're not starting these guys over Warren typically anyway. So
agreed.
So that was my thought. Anyways, Ferguson or Henry? Jake, who do you like better?
Ferguson's not on the same stratosphere as Henry. No, I'm kidding. Really what it comes down to is it's legit a coin flip to me to the fact where I would go Hunter Henry in non and Ferguson in PPR. Like that's how close they are to me, because I think that Ferguson was the clear beneficiary of no CeeDee Lamb. Like people are like, well, what about Turpin and Tolbert? I think it's really just more Ferguson, and that's what we're going to see. So I'll give him the slight edge. Hunter Henry, like I said, is going to be more of the potential volatility than Ferguson will be. But if we're really going to talk about our college football teams, I just want to talk about the fact that we didn't bring it up last week, and they were off. So Old Dominion freaking gobsmacked Virginia Tech in Virginia Tech. I just want to bring up my alma mater and say, hey, how about that one?
Virginia Tech was a school I grew up rooting for because both my parents went there. Obviously, I switched to Maryland.
Have you talked to your parents since that game? Should I give them a call?
No.
Check in on them.
Wait, was that the game?
And my sister and my brother-in-law. I am like the black sheep of the family who didn't go to Virginia Tech. So I have a lot of people I could call after that, actually.
Was that game the last straw for the Hokies coach? Was that the game that got him fired?
Yeah, that was the one. Yeah, that was the one that got 45 points to ODU at home.
Oh, man. You can say goodbye to start-sit dilemmas with Fantasy Pros start-sit assistant. Within seconds, you'll know exactly who to play for optimal results each and every week. Leveraging insights from numerous experts, the start-sit assistant aligns your lineup decisions with the top minds in fantasy football, giving you a competitive edge. Maximize your lineup's potential with just a few clicks. Head to fantasypros.com/myplaybook or download the Fantasy Pros app and make winning decisions in no time. We are about to get into our touchdown calls for the week, but first, I want to let everybody know you can join our free touchdown calls contest in the Fantasy Pros Discord. Each week, pick 4 players you think will score with a bonus flex worth double. Weekly winners get a $25 Fantasy Pros gift card, and the season champ takes home a signed Bijan Robinson jersey. Play now by going to fantasypros.com/chat and heading to the touchdown calls channel. Jake, you are on running back this week.
Yeah, I'm going right back to that Giants matchup. I mentioned it earlier. Krusty Merritt scored. Both Cowboys running backs, including Miles Sanders, scored against them. And Kareem Hunt got the rushing touchdown last week. So it's Murray and Hampton's turn. Unfortunately, Najee Harris is out for the year. You want to talk about bell cow use. For everybody that was disappointed with Hampton for the first couple weeks, you just got your potential RB1 because, man, he's going to have a day, and he's going to have a great one this week against the Giants and get into the end zone. So let's go, Murray and Hampton.
Fitz, you're on wide receiver.
Ricky Pearsall, I think he's going to play this week. He is third in the NFL in receiving yardage, but hasn't scored a touchdown yet. I think the drought ends this week.
Speaking of the drought ending, I am on tight end. We'll see if I can pull it off. I told you guys that when I was putting this together, I was like, okay, I'm just going to pick whoever tight end one is and like stop messing around. And it's Trey McBride, and he doesn't catch a lot of touchdowns. So I was like, all right, well, maybe I'll look a little bit lower. I'm going with Tucker Kraft. He caught a touchdown in each of the first 2 weeks. Obviously, he's having this great breakout season. Not so much in week 3. A, he was facing like what might arguably be the best defense in football. And B, he had that injury scare in the middle of the week going into week 3. So he didn't, have a normal practice schedule. Yeah, I'm expecting another week later to be a little more healthy. He's also facing the Dallas Cowboys, who give up touchdowns to literally everybody. So I'm going to Tucker Kraft. See if he can get off the schneid there.
You should go like Njoku's going to get off the schneid because the Lions just got blitzed by your boy Mark Andrews and have no linebackers, and finally everybody's going to be like, I don't want Njoku, and it's going to be an Njoku touchdown week.
If Kraft doesn't have a touchdown and Njoku does, I'm going to be really upset that your like quick throw in would have been right and my pick was not. But so we're going with yeah, exactly. We're going with the Marion Hampton, Ricky Pearsall, and Tucker Kraft. You could dominate your fantasy football league with Fantasy Pros Premium, now available free for 6 months when you deposit and place your first wager on one of our partner sportsbooks. This is the easiest way to get full access to our top fantasy tools all season long. Go to fantasypros.com/premium to get started. We will win a little long today, so we'll wrap up there. For Jake and Fitz, I'm Ryan Wormeli. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you again next time.